I've had the Nikon Z6iii for over a year, and so now I've decided to do a video on what I think of it. But in my opinion, this camera could be one of the best on the market for a hybrid shooter. The experience I've had with it, not only shooting photography for this year and a bit, but also shooting content creation stuff and videos and all that with it as well. This has been my main workhorse. For some reason I wanted to film this on the floor. Oh, my knees. Oh. Now quickly, only going over the main specs here to keep this as fast as possible. 24.5 megapixel partially stacked sensor. In terms of speed, it can do 14 frames per second mechanical. In electric, it can do up to 20 frames per second RAW, 60 frames per second in JPEG, or 120 frames per second in crop mode. And unlike most cameras with the electronic shutter, you don't get as much of the disadvantages due to the partially stacked sensor. In fact, I actually mostly shoot photos with the electronic shutter on this camera. In terms of video, it can shoot up to 6K 60 RAW 12-bit, or in 4K 120, and in 1080 240. That can be 10-bit if you want it to be. It has an amazing OLED EVF 5.76 million dot 120 Hz refresh rate and up to 400 nits max brightness. It has in-body stabilization up to 8 stops, which is great for photography, and all the usuals. Now I'm currently filming on the Nikon Z52 with 7 Artisans 24mm f1.8, but I'm going to switch over to the Z6iii and I'm going to switch the files between like 1080, 4K, etc. throughout the video to show you a little bit of the files on this thing. The next thing I want to talk about is image quality. Ironically, while you watch me in 1080p. If you go down into the quality, make sure you're watching in ideally 4K. YouTube's compression and all that just cripples the footage. But most people wouldn't know, I actually really like the 1080p quality out of this camera. Now I'll get onto photography in a second. When you come to 4K, like, of course, it's better. But the file sizes also get bigger. And when you go to 6K RAW, well, the file size get huge. I checked how long I could record NRAW 6K 60 footage for, and it said 8 minutes. 256 gig. I would only recommend doing that if you really need it. And if you're doing content creation like what I am now, you probably don't. Normally, for all this stuff, I'm shooting 1080 or 4K. That's it. Now let's have a look at the slow-mo performance of the 4K 120, which is really all you need and what most people are probably going to be using. But if you feel the need for speed, or actually quite the opposite, then of course you've got 240, but you have to drop down to HD. But look, even this looks amazing. Now in terms of photography image quality, it's good. And while, yeah, the partially stacked sensor is better than like a normal sensor when it comes to rolling shutter and everything, the downfall to that, under 800 ISO, you do get slightly more noise. However, do I notice that? Not really. Under 800 ISO, you're not generally, just with cameras in general, you're not getting much noise anyway. I have shot great kind of portrait shots and all this in low light. Not much grain, and the grain that is there can easily be fixed in post if you want to fix it. Image quality on this camera is amazing. Of course, it does need the right hands and the right techniques. When I expose for the background, if it's like really super lit, I can't see their face at all on the screen, I shoot RAW, I bring it home, I put it into on-one photo RAW, which is generally what I use, and boom, amazing. I can bring it back, even though it's super dark. And that's what this camera allows you to do. But in terms of image quality, video quality, I have no complaints really. Now for autofocus performance. Don't make a fool out of me. Don't make a fool out of me. Come on. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Oh. I think the lighting's playing with it a little bit. Yeah. Like, I don't have this autofocus on super fast. It's just in the middle somewhere. It's a little bit of choppy just when I'm close. That could be the lens too. It's just a 40mm. It's just a cheap lens. It's got my eye. It's got my eye. I can see it. Oh! Ah! Ah! Whoop! Alright, I'm curious to see if this makes a difference. We are now on the 50mm 1.8 S lens. Ah! Ah! Oh, what are you doing, Nikon? What are you doing? Ooh, coming over here, coming over here. But look, in terms of autofocus performance for video, it's actually like pretty good. For the most part, my kind of content creation, I don't have an issue with the autofocus. Like, I stop for a sec, it gets me in focus, then like I cut back in. But is this Nikon autofocus performance, like in terms of like real world use, not like jumping around in the front of the camera and seeing if it doesn't lose tracking of me at all? It's good, it's usable. I very rarely ever have a real world scenario situation where the autofocus performance is really bad. In terms of photo autofocus performance, again, I haven't really had any issues with it, regardless of whether it's low light or whatever. I found the autofocus performance of this camera to be really good. I used to go to like some photography events, and there were other photographers around me that are using Sony and Canon and all these other ones. I remember like down this very dark strip where some of the people were posing, that we were trying to take photos of. There was a lot of people that their autofocus on Canon and so just didn't work, and they couldn't get eye focus, and the camera was just in and out. Whereas my Z6iii, I autofocus straight. It wasn't going in and out. I didn't need to go to like spot focus, nothing. I just had it in normal IAF and it just got it straight up. This is like actually really good autofocus performance in my opinion, especially for photography. I don't particularly have many issues with the autofocus performance, photo or video. Now, I wasn't going to do this, but I knew I would get some whiny little babies down in the comments below saying, why didn't you do 6K 60 RAW? Okay, here it is. Now I'm going to do two topics really quickly because we're filling up a SD card, a 256 gig SD card, very quickly. First, let's talk about the screens on the device. Now the screen on the back, amazing. I think it's pretty accurate. It's reliable. I can go off it, and in terms of brightness, I think it's bright enough. I've never had an issue where it's like not bright enough or anything. I have shot outside quite a few times, not an issue. Now in terms of the EVF, even more amazing than the screen on the back. 5 point something million dots, 4000 nits brightness. One of the brightest EVFs out there, and especially color gammuted EVF, like, looks good, bright, everything. Don't worry about it. one of the best in the industry right here. Now let's talk about battery life. Battery life on this thing is really good. Whether it's video or photo, the battery life is really good. In terms of photos, I've done like over 2,000 shots in a sitting on one battery with a combination of both the EVF and the screen on the back. I do have two batteries for this, but very rarely do I ever need to actually use the second one when I'm out doing photos, but I do bring one anyway. In terms of video, I can do many YouTube videos on this on the same battery. So again, like battery life even in video is amazing. On top of that, when you're out and about, when you're not using your camera, you can use the USB-C input on the camera with a PD rated power bank, plug that in, and it'll charge the camera when not in use. Now, normally when I put it in my camera bag, I actually plug in the USB-C sometimes when I think the whole day's shoot could be a little bit too long, just in case. I just do it anyway. That way it extends the battery life a bit. But if I know that I'll be okay, then I don't bother, of course. Okay, no more 6K 64. Back to a reasonable frame rate 4K 30. Yes, I shoot in 30. Don't ask me down in the comments below why you're shooting in 30. That's what I do. Let's talk about the Z mount. How is the lens selection and like the ecosystem maturity? Look, for full frame, it's actually not bad. I think Nikon has a lot of good lenses available for the Z mount, and I think they're reasonably priced, especially for the quality that they are. For example, the 50mm 1.8 that I'm shooting on right now, this is 1.8 S lens. This is a mid to top tier level lens. This is super good quality. However, it is a lot more expensive than something like Canon's Nifty 50 1.8 because the quality of that is meh. It's lower end, and so the price difference is very different. But in terms of if you have a look at quality 50mm, this is actually not bad. With Nikon, they do have cheap lenses like this 40mm f2 that I was just shooting on before, and they do have like 28s and other ones that are cheap, but they're still not bad. And when we're talking about third-party lenses, Tamron's quite good. Viltrox is amazing, especially with APS-C lenses, but still do amazing full frame as well. And even the likes of 7 Artisans is starting to bring out a lot of Z-mount lenses. They're not the only ones, of course, and more are coming out as the Nikon Z-mount cameras are getting more and more popular. Alright, let's talk about the in-body stabilization. Photography-wise, the IBIS is amazing. I don't have any complaints with the in-body stabilization for photography. Alright, so quick image stabilization test. I am handheld on the Nikon Z6iii, just holding it in my hand, no little tripod or anything. I currently have my 7 Artisans 24mm f1.8 on there. Of course, no stabilization on this lens. Running. Now I just switched it from sport to normal, just in normal mode. Does that make much of a difference? No. To be honest, I haven't tested this too much. I never walk around like this, doing the vloggy thing. Let's go for a little run again. Okay, so who is this camera for? Well, I think it's great for like the hybrid shooters like myself that do photo and video and potentially can do a bit of sports and everything because it's got the partially stacked sensor. So for those of you that do a lot of photo and video and just want a camera that can pretty much do anything that might come up in the future if you wanted to save a few bucks and go the Z5 II. Obviously you do lose 6K and smaller buffer size and some of the oversampling. the amazing EVF, all that. If you are mostly a photographer, would I recommend this camera, even though it does have like amazing video features? I would say yes. If you don't want the larger bodies of like the Z8, the Z9, I think this is a great option. This is like kind of the best in the Nikon range without going a large body. In conclusion, overall, I really do not regret buying this camera. I must admit, most cameras in the past that I've had, and I've had a lot, I've always been unhappy about things with them and just annoy me and always wanting to upgrade. Whereas this, I don't. I mean, the only thing that this could have that I would want is open gate, to have that extra little bit top to bottom. Oh no, I like it. Slight criticisms on the autofocus a little bit for video, but you never know, that could get fixed in a firmware update, but obviously there's no promises with that. But look, again, not massive things for me. I think overall it's a really good camera. So thanks for watching this video, everybody. Hit that like button if you liked it, subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you in the next video.